right, we're going to get into a little bit of a follow-up video. Last year, I did a first year blood tracking dog gear dump video. So I wanted to do a little bit of an update and talk about some of the stuff that worked really well for us and some stuff that we ended up upgrading just based on what was working for us and what wasn't. First thing that's actually been a lot more helpful than I thought it would is this little crate. Picked it up at like Lowe's or something like that. You know, hard-sided, easy to grab, locks really well, keeps all my stuff together. It's been working out pretty well for us. Oh, shout out to Suki. Hey girl. We got again running the Garmin, the Alpha 200 worked out really well. Dan's, I about wore these puppies out last year, man. Made so many of the tracks and actually a lot of coon hunting just that much more comfortable. We kept our kept the same like lead and harness setup, so rough wear front range, probably not real surprising to see for anybody else that does any tracking. That's kind of like the standard of what we use. And the Permatac lead, the 10 meter or 33 foot or 30 foot, whatever it is. I swapped it out for this little rough wear carabiner. I had them make me one custom without the brass clip. We like using the carabiners. We got this on a tip from Damon Bungard. And med kit, only thing I added to it was an Israeli bandage. Thankfully, we really didn't have to use it pretty much at all last year, which is always, you know, kind of nice to see. I was running the chest harness for the GoPro. It's the GoPro brand one. It feels like it's just that much better than any of like the cheap ones that you see on Amazon or something. And then for my light, this is where we started to make some changes. So I was running this Olight Perun as a headlight. I actually just swapped it out, put the clip on there, and kind of run that on the front of my jacket, which I'll tell you about why in a minute. This stuff I kind of love. Like it just smells really good. And it seems to like kind of keep the critters off of the dog too. She doesn't mind the smell so much. She doesn't try to lick it off or anything. You know, especially in the warmer months. Like we do all of our tracking in New York and New Jersey, where it's just like it's tick central. So it's real easy for a dog to do a quick track and come out, you know, with half a dozen ticks on her, if not more. So this has definitely helped us out a good bit. For a headlamp, man, I switched it up. I went with the big guns. I bought a Coon light from Bright Eyes. This is kind of like their entry level light though. This is by no means like their highest quality or brightest light, but it really is like that much better than anything, you know, pretty much anything else that, you know, that you're going to find in your average, you know, sporting goods store or whatever. You know, if you're rocking with one of those, like, you know, like got the battery inside, like this, like the Perun, it's totally fine. You know, like that's probably like a realistic, you know, 600 to 800 lumens. But man, when you need to kind of like burn it down, you really can't beat a Coon light. Also much more comfortable. It's in a baseball cap. I kind of love that. I ran it with a belt battery. So a lot of people will just get like the battery that just goes across the, you know, there's a wire that just goes across the top and the battery hangs off the back of the cap. For me, I just thought that was going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So this is nice. Like I switched it onto my belt. It's got 3 different brightness levels or 4 different brightness levels, something like that. And a red light as well, which, you know, you don't really use a whole hell of a lot, you know, when you're tracking, but for coon hunting, it's nice. And I also added like another, like just like a super bright, like handheld. This is a Claris. What is this? An XT. Oh, I don't even remember the call. XT11X. Had to use it a couple times. It's nice to have not only a bright light that you're wearing, but also one that you can kind of like maneuver and pick up and, you know, point in another direction or lend to somebody if you really need to. And then I think we talked a little bit about, like, I was carrying on water a lot, a collapsible dog bowl, one of these pouches that just like clips onto a jacket, clips onto a bag, clips onto a belt. Super helpful for us, you know, like Georgia, not a huge fan of the heat. So having that, I found if I stop and water her when she looks like, you know, she's panting a lot or just like having a little bit of trouble, like with a line, we'll stop for a minute or two. I'll put a little bit of water down, she'll have a drink, and she's kind of like a new dog. So it's been a much more important part of our kit than I kind of would have imagined. And then lastly, I didn't get into this last year, but so I track in, like I said, New York and New Jersey. In New York, a licensed tracker can carry a firearm and dispatch a deer with that firearm any time of year, well, during any legal deer season. So it's, you know, during archery season here, it's a huge advantage, especially if we're tracking at night and we come up on a deer, it's still alive, I'm allowed to dispatch the deer. I took the rifle, I mean, well, here's the deal. I'm not a New York resident, so I can't bring a pistol into the state of New York, even though I own property here and stuff like that. So I think most guys probably end up carrying a pistol. It's just a lot more convenient. You know, you get a big caliber like a 44 or a 357, and that kind of like does the job. For me, that wasn't an option, so I went with this this really cool ass lever gun. It's a 35, shoots a big fat 200 grain bullet. It's, you know, really nice. It's, you know, nice and short, especially if you're carrying it through brush or something like that. And then this year I added like a little micro red dot sight on there. So this is a Burris, what is it? A Burris Fastfire 3. Haven't used it a whole bunch, but you know, I thought it would be kind of cool to throw on there. You know, iron sights, I think it's always great to know how to shoot iron sights. But this just kind of like makes your life a little bit easier sometimes. You got to get a, you know, pretty quick target acquisition. But yeah, I think let me see. I only ended up shooting one deer last year on a track. It was actually it was a first weekend too. It was one of George's first live tracks, which was a pretty wild one in the rain. I don't have video of it, but I really wish I did. It was kind of a crazy day. But yeah, so that's our basic setup. You know, like I think the biggest learning from last year was number one, my light situation. So it wasn't terrible, right? Like there's plenty of guys that could track with a smaller light and do just fine. But I found it was just one less thing to kind of like worry about and have to manage when you just got like a big, you know, just like a big old super bright coon light or something like that, and having a really powerful hand light. And then the other big takeaway, which I actually think is probably the biggest takeaway, just get comfortable with your gear, man. You know, like the way that you wear that water bottle, you know, like that makes it sounds like silly little things, but just getting used to like all this stuff so that it's just totally second nature is like a tremendous help. You know, like the way that your water bottle, you know, like flops around, you know, like does it get caught on the cord for your, you know, your headlight, you know, things like that. And just getting used to your gear, you know, knowing the limitations of your gear, and you know, being able to kind of, you know, utilize everything when you need it and as you need it. It was a pretty big, you know, learning experience for us. So this is what we're kind of running with for this year. If there's any other big updates, I'll be sure to update you guys, but that's